Mark, thanks for your time as ever. Can we start with your team news ahead of the weekend? Do you have any fresh injury concerns going into the game?
No, not at this point. Everybody came through pretty much unscathed, so that's a real positive for us. We're in decent enough shape. Another game under our belt, so in terms of minutes, they're clocking up, and we should be up to full speed now.
Yeah, you didn't make a lot of changes on Tuesday night. Was the thinking just to let them gel a little bit more? More games, the better at this stage.
Yeah, that was my thought process. Obviously, we wanted the game to win the game rather, and I just think of this early in the season. Then you're still looking for a little bit of continuity in terms of selection. Obviously, you're all the way through pre-season. You're trying to get minutes into players' legs, and you make lots of changes. But at the minutes, we're reasonably settled. I think I only made 2 or 3 changes. And I think that helped us. We got a little bit of continuity at the back as well. So they're still obviously working on those relationships between themselves. So I thought it was another opportunity to get another game under their belts.
How's Jamie Walker doing? Obviously, when we last spoke a few weeks and a scan due, have we got an update on Jamie at all?
He's having an operation today. We're hopeful that, albeit touch wood, that no complications, but I think it's pretty straightforward, and the time that we're being told he'll be able to go back to training is shorter than we thought initially, so that's encouraging. I don't want to put a time scale on it because that can put a little bit too much pressure on guys to try and rush to come back. We'll give him the time that he needs. It's important that he recovers correctly and is raring to go when he does come back.
And just on Abo Issa as well, is his recovery still on the same time scale that we were expecting?
Yeah, still same time scale. He's at the point now, I think, the treatments that he's had to stimulate obviously healing. I think he's gone through all that now. Now we saw him on the training pitch today. I think he was just walking around in the sun. But it was nice to see him. We got a round of applause from the guys because they hadn't seen him out there for a long time. So that's encouraging. He's not out of it anymore. He's going to be in and around the group, not training with the group as yet, but certainly with the physios out there. So that's progress for him.
Are we looking at more weeks or still months?
Yeah, it's still a number of weeks for Abo, unfortunately. But it was unfortunate injury, a freak injury really. Didn't realise at the time that it was so significant, but it's a shame for Abo because he'd looked really strong at that point. But he'll come back, he'll be fine, and we'll get him going again.
Andy Cook coming into the starting 11 on Tuesday repaid that faith with 2 brilliantly taken goals. How impressed have you been with the way Andy's applied himself when he was on the bench for the first couple of league games?
He's done really well, and I think clearly when you get an opportunity you need to take it. I think more so for strikers because there were always, I was always judged on goals unfairly sometimes because I wasn't particularly prolific goal scorer myself, but I was a bit streaky, and I think sometimes Andy gets a little bit down on himself if he isn't scoring, and he's probably a little bit too hard on himself, and that sometimes can affect your general play. But he's come back pre-season, and I said after the game that he's in good nick at the moment, and it looks like he's enjoying the good players around him as well. I think he realises that there's going to be opportunities for him to score, and certainly took 2 good opportunities in midweek, and he's always happier when he's got goals in his back pocket.
And presumably he's given you a bit of a selection headache, but I guess that's what you want as a manager.
Yeah, I haven't got a problem with that. It's about making sure we've got enough quality in the building, enough quality in terms of depth. We certainly got that in almost every area, so that's a good thing because clearly we've lost players to injuries already, and if we didn't have that depth, then there might be more concern. But we're in decent enough shape. Andy and all the strikers, all the front guys will have a challenge this year that I think will actually help them to raise their levels anyway. So it's not something I'm concerned with, that there's competition. That's what you want to create and generate.
And with that competition, winning, they say, breeds winning. What can you and the players take from that win over Hull?
Well, yeah, we wanted to continue. It's important that we go on a run now. I think first two games were disappointing, but there were pretty much a lot of things that we'd worked on. I was seeing in our play. We haven't been able to bring it all together as yet. Probably the other evening was as close as we've been to where we think we need to be. So that's encouraging because I feel we're getting better. First two results were disappointing, but there were circumstances behind the first result. Clearly, given Doncaster's approach and the emotion of Manny's injuries. So yeah, we're looking forward to the game. I think there was what I sensed before the game the other night was a real determination. There was a little bit of frustration in there as well, and we went out there with the right approach and the right attitude to what was ahead of us, and put in a really high level performance. So that's the capability of the group that I've got. So we've got to try and have the ability to produce that level every time we play, if not better it. So that's the challenge for us at the weekend.
I think you alluded to it after Tuesday. What the players did well was adapting, and you really shut Hull down in that second half. It's going to be a different challenge on Saturday, but one that the players have hopefully shown they can adapt in those in-game situations and come out on the right end of it.
Yeah, and it was a different game for us because for the most part we're likely to dominate possession against teams in League Two. That's how it seems to be panning out, and that will probably continue. But I think we've shown that if we lack that control of the majority of possession, then we can go other ways as well. So having that ability to react and adjust accordingly to what the opposition are setting you in terms of problems, that's important. That we've got more than just the one game plan. We've got the ability to adjust and go in a different way, and we'll need that variation to our play throughout the season, I'm sure.
And Newport, almost identical form to yourselves, a draw and a defeat in the league, and they beat Championship opposition quite impressively on Tuesday night. Like yourselves, they'll be looking at Valley Parade at this weekend and thinking, oh, we fancy that for our first win of the season.
Yeah, they will come in good heart. Yeah, if they've been comprehensively in midweek at a Championship side, then yeah, confidence-wise, they might have been at a lower ebb than they are at the moment. But I think last year we were conscious of the fact that too many teams came to Valley Parade and had an enjoyable experience. That's not our intention this year. We want teams turning up thinking, goodness me, we're going to have to really play well to get anything out of the game today. I think we've got the ability to do that. With the backing that we have, obviously, it's a huge advantage to us, and everybody was totally on board with what we were doing Tuesday night. And albeit there was only 5,000 in there, I think only probably 4,000 Bradford fans. I mean, I was surprised when I heard the figure, because I mean the racket that our fans made was unbelievable. So yeah, if we can, I'm not sure what the crowd's going to. I don't think Newport's are bringing too many by all accounts, but if we've got upwards of 16, 17, 18,000 again, then if we get our noses in front, then they'll get us over the line, I'm sure.
And just lastly, another home tie in the Cup, Championship opposition again, a club you know very well in Blackburn Rovers. Just your reaction to that? Yeah,
good draw, we feel. There's a lot of Blackburn connections, a lot of the lads, obviously you've had a connection with the club, good club. Enjoyed my time there, both as a player and as a manager. So still people there, not too many these days in fairness, but still people there that I know, and yeah, it'd be nice to be able to catch up with them if they're coming to the game. But first and foremost, I think it's an opportunity that we'll look to still progress in the competition. We've gone up against similar teams. We've done okay in the last time out. We've got to be able to go again against, obviously they had a good win against League Two opposition, so we've got to be mindful that they're quite possibly taking it serious, this competition. But we'll face that when we come to it. We've got a lot of League Two games before we actually have to concentrate on Blackburn. But it's one to look forward to, I'm sure.
Thanks for your time.
You said after the game on Tuesday night that Scott Banks seemed to have got stronger as the game went on. How's he reacted to the game since then?
Yeah, we're obviously pleased. We were pleased with his performance. As you mentioned, I thought he got stronger as the game went on. I think confidence-wise, I don't think he had an issue with that at any stage in the game. But I think he certainly started confidently, continued in the same vein right through to the end of the game. As I said at the time, I was contemplating taking him off just to be fair to him, given that he'd only turned up the day before and didn't really have a lot of chance to understand what we're about. But I think he enjoyed it. I think he realised very, very quickly that he's got good players to play with, and when you're a good player yourself, then you enjoy playing with good players. It makes your job easier. So I think, given the result as well, I think he's had an outstanding start to his career.
And again, bringing strength and depth in those creative areas.
Yeah. We've got to obviously have different options, and for different opponents, they will test us in different ways. So we can't just go one way, as I've already said. So that obviously can change due to how we set up, what tactics we've got, but what kind of personnel we've got, and we've got a lot of talent that's different. You compare and contrast the abilities of a lot of the front guys. They're all very different and can do different things at different times, I'm sure. So we're pleased that Scott's come. I think his delivery, obviously, at set plays is going to be an advantage for us as well. That's an added bonus, along with obviously his obvious ability in general play.
Cheers.
So, Mark, the other day, about touching on the League Cup again, when you sort of said about you don't understand why some teams perhaps don't take it so seriously. I mean, a lot of championship teams went out this week, I think 10 to lower league teams. A lot of them were fielding very different sides. Do you think, particularly at championship level, perhaps teams are now almost dismissing it slightly, thinking we've got bigger fish to fry, we're not going to win this competition, let's concentrate on what we need to be doing?
Well, possibly. Yeah. For ourselves, obviously, just winning a tie is significant for us, whereas maybe championship teams look at it and think winning an early round isn't as or at the same level of significance for them, because it's not going to add too much to their coffers. It's more about game time and how many games they're going to actually play during the season. But I go back to what I said at the time. I think there's only so many competitions that you have a realistic chance of progressing in, and the League Cup's one of them. Why would you not give it your best shot? I've always tried to treat cup competitions with the respect that they deserve, and I've been okay in terms of getting to some of the latter stages of FA Cups and League Cups. So I think you should always give it your best shot. Sometimes circumstances won't allow you to play exactly the same team, but I think in early season games, as I talked about earlier, it's still about getting some rhythm to your play, and you only get that by playing week in, week out, and having a body of work and repetition of work that allows you to improve. So why would you pass up an opportunity to have a little bit of continuity in your selection? Everybody does it different. Everybody will say that, well, it's the way we go. I've always tried to stay in cup competitions for as long as I can, because I think if you're on the back of a good cup run, I think it helps your league form anyway. It's not a hindrance, not in my view.
Because I think that's, and it's been a long while that perhaps some of the Premier League teams have obviously prioritised different top competitions, but I think possibly the reaction with so many championship teams going out was that it is now dripping down, and perhaps there are teams there who almost see it as a hindrance, and they don't want to be there.
I'm sure they'll argue that's not the case, but it does seem like it's. I don't think that's normal for so many lower league teams to win against higher opposition.
Some of them were away as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't think that's the norm. I don't anticipate that it will be the norm in the future. I think it's just possibly a one-off. But it is still an indicator that maybe the focus of teams above where we are is maybe different from our focus.
I'd say from your point of view, it's the confidence of winning, the continuity, you know, and the, say if you're winning the cup, why should it get in the way of what you're trying to achieve?
Right. It's not negative. Is as long as you feel you've got enough personnel and on the correct level of personnel to go up and be competitive, then why wouldn't you do it?
And in terms of, obviously, you're talking about the creating players and scoring goals, I mean, that's sort of one area where I think we've looked at Bradford for the last few seasons, and the goals for column has been probably 20 goals below what it should be if you're going to be up there challenging. I mean, is that something you identified quite early on?
Yeah, we want to improve that column, obviously, because that goes hand in hand with getting good results. If you're scoring plenty of goals, you've got to keep them out the other end as well. That's quite important as well. So we'd like to think we're going to improve in that regard as well. So yeah, if we've got good options. Still got options to come back. Jamie obviously will be back after his injury. Abo will be back. Manny, obviously we're going to have to wait a little bit longer, but Keane's going to be back after his suspension as well. So he's another different type of attacking player, which is great.
I think Andy Cook was sort of alluding to the competition around the places now is a lot sharper perhaps this season than it was before.
Yeah, I think that's the case, but that's what we wanted to create. We don't want people to be comfortable. We need to test them and push them to levels that maybe they've never been to before. Can we get the absolute maximum out of their ability and their impact in games? And if we do that, then we'll have a successful season. It's a case of getting the maximum out of everybody, and there's going to be fluctuations in terms of form, and touch wood, we don't lose any more to injuries, but that could happen, could well happen. We've just got to keep going and making sure that momentum-wise we're really in a good place.
And presumably, if someone does drop out for whatever reason, it doesn't affect the standard of the team or the output, because you've got someone who can come in and.
Yeah, I think that's.
Maintain the
I think we accept that. I think our depth is good. Clearly, don't want to lose any more guys to injury. But the depth at the moment is strong. You saw the impact of the subs in midweek. I thought it was really good. Like I said, Liangle, Verdane coming on. Ryan East obviously didn't start the game, but came on to good effect. Levi looked really a lot more like Levi in his little cameo. A lot of energy, which he always gives us. So when he's talking about those players, that's really strong to be able to call on them and others from the bench. So the makeup of the bench will change. I'm sure of that during the course of the season, but the options I've got are really good.